The average human attention span in 2026 is shorter than it has ever been in recorded history. We're talking somewhere between 1.5 and 3 seconds before a person decides whether to keep watching or keep scrolling. 1.5 seconds. That is not enough time to say your name and your brokerage. It's barely enough time for the brain to register that something is on the screen. And here is the thing about real estate content in that environment. Most of it was built for a world that no longer exists. It was built for people who were going to sit down and read a caption, watch a full video, click through a website and browse. But those people are gone. They are outnumbered by people who are making split-second decisions about whether you are worth even one more second of their time. And the agents who are winning in 2026 are not the ones creating the most content. They're the ones who understand how attention actually works now and how to build everything around that understanding. This is the Elite Zone podcast. Here we go. All right, everybody, what's going on? Good morning. What's up, Blake? How we doing?
Good morning. Good morning. It is Friday. We are feeling good. We are ready.
Properly caffeinated.
You got your coffee. I got my water. Drinking that H2O.
There you go. Stay hydrated. All right, here's what we're getting into today. We're talking about the attention economy. What does that mean? Why it's changed the rules for real estate agents posting content right now. And, you know, the 3 seconds that people are taking to determine if you are qualified or not, if you're worth more of their time, right? So this is not a social media tips episode. This is a consumer psychology episode. And we're applying that to real estate marketing for you, okay? And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So this is going to be a very valuable episode with a lot of information. So definitely make sure you are tuned in and turned on. So Blake, the term attention economy, that's what I want to start with. I keep hearing it in marketing circles, media, everywhere, but almost everybody has brought it specifically into real estate now. We're hearing more content creators and authority talk about this. So what do we mean when we talk about the attention economy? What's that?
The attention economy. This is a good one. It is honestly really interesting to kind of understand and see the perspective of what that even means. So the attention span of someone, right? And I like to call it, I coach high school kids and I see it all the time there as well, is we like to call TikTok brain, right? And
TikTok brain. I haven't heard that. Is that that's a legit thing? A legit saying?
That is a legit thing, a TikTok brain. So like TikTok, you have like 20 seconds, if that, to create your video, create some sort of hook that's going to keep them watching. And if that hook is not good in the first 3 seconds, TikTok swipe.
Done. Yep.
Okay, so with TikTok brain, we have, as a society, kind of implemented that same structure into our day-to-day, right? If there's something that we see that doesn't grab our attention, doesn't tell us why this helps us or why this is interesting to me or why this would be relevant to me, people TikTok swipe, and they do it on everything. So I like to look at it, for an example, anyone that's listening, to be like, okay, well, how does this apply? What is something that would relate to me? Think of it as like you just got a listing, let's say, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do a post. I got a listing. I want to post about it. And we're going to go to like San Diego pricing. So if this pricing is like, this isn't something that's realistic to my area, obviously put in your own numbers, but it's just to give you an idea. So you have a listing that you just got. Let's say it's for $1.2 million. Okay. So You got a home, $1.2 million. You hire a photographer, you take amazing photos, you get the highlights of the home, which is the renovated kitchen, the huge island, you're putting all of this in your photos, and you write on the photos, just listed 1.2 million, 4 bed, 3 bath. And that's across, let's say, all of the photos.
Okay. Every
And
single photo
every single photo, right?
has got
And
that
maybe,
same, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
maybe the first one has it big in the middle, and maybe after that, to have it more consistent, you have it at the bottom, let's just say, okay?
Yes.
And then you write a caption explaining all the features. My question now is like, what do you think the buyers are seeing when they scroll? When you ask an agent, they're going to say they're seeing a gorgeous home for 1.2 in San Diego in this amazing area, and there's this great kitchen, and that's what the agent's going to be thinking when they're creating this post. However, what the buyer is thinking is, great, kitchen, pool, price, scroll.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just another picture of a kitchen and a pool, and thank you for telling me the price. I'm good, right?
Yeah, for
But
sure.
the problem isn't that the property wasn't interesting, because it probably is, especially if the agent's like raving about it.
Yeah.
The problem is that nothing about that opening gives the brain of the buyer a reason to stop. Like, they're not feeling compelled to stop. So something in contrast of what an agent can post is, this San Diego home looks like it belongs in a $2 million neighborhood, but it just hit the market for 1.2 million. So now you kind of create a curiosity of like, wait, hold on. So I'm living in a neighborhood that could be worth 2 million, which obviously any buyer that's hearing that they're going to invest 1.2, but they're living in a neighborhood that's 2 million. The growth right there is, I'm going to be like, I'm interested. Let's see about this.
Right.
Or you could say, if you're waiting for San Diego prices to come down before buying, look at what just happened in this neighborhood, new listing alert, whatever it is, right? So now you've created relevance and kind of connecting with the people you're trying to sell ultimately, right? It's basically you're posting the information different. It's the same exact information. You didn't make anything up. You didn't not give correct information. It is the same exact information. It's just outlined and positioned differently. The biggest thing in between like just posting the information and actually earning the attention. And that's why it's so important to understand how people think.
Yes.
How others think.
Yeah, for sure. And, so traditional real estate marketing was built in an era of lower competition, right? So all of that stuff and just listed posts worked because when there was lower competition, there wasn't much else competing. So that worked. And then market update emails got read before because people checked email differently, right? It's not your messaging. It's not the things you're doing. Is Blake, I think what you're saying is it's how you say it and is it compelling, because you have to capture the person's attention, right? And yeah, the open house signs drove traffic because physical presence, it's still important, but it was much more important back before we had all this. So what's changed? Because I know agents who are still running that same playbook are probably wondering why nothing's working.
So yeah, it's the 3-second capture, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where before you had the 2 minutes to tell a story. You had articles like 3 pages long to talk about what you're an expert in. Where now it's like, no, you have 3 seconds to make whatever you're talking about relatable. So like, for an example, let's talk about a market update. That's pretty common for agents to either post about, send in a newsletter, but let's say they're posting on social media.
Yep.
A 60-second video could say like, hey everyone, Blake here. Or if it's like, maybe you have like a intro that you say like, hey, it's Blake, you're a luxury expert in San Diego, California, whatever it is, whatever intro you have. Here with ABC Realty. Today I want to give you an update on the San Diego real estate market. As you can see, inventory has increased. When I say that to you, Max, was there anything in that kind of was like, okay, I want to continue listening?
No, not really.
I would agree.
It wasn't bad. Like it wasn't like this is terrible, but no, not really.
Yeah, it just wasn't attention grabbing, right? It didn't make you feel like this related to me, or like this is worth me saying, oh yeah, let me continue watching the next, 60 seconds on this. But like another way to frame that same message and same thing that you're trying to get across, but you change up how you say it is, hey, if you're a San Diego homeowner thinking about selling in the next 12 months, there's one number in today's market report that you need to know. So now what
That's
you're
much more compelling.
you're like, okay, I can relate because I'm a San Diego home buyer. I'm thinking about buying in the next year, and I would love to know what number. What number are they talking about? I'm a first time home buyer. Like I feel like I should at least
Yeah.
educate myself to know what that is.
Yeah, honestly, just the fact that there's a number that wasn't revealed, even if I wasn't a home buyer, I might just need to know what the number is because it's like, okay,
Curiosity.
well, what is it? Yeah, like what is this all about, right? So
Right?
that's exactly right. So that's way, way different than before.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, it's all about how you're framing it. And like to kind of stay on the first time home buyer track, right? Once again, like these aren't bad things to do. If you've done these posts, like, hey, good for you for even posting. So I'm
Yeah.
going to give you a
Yeah.
clap for that because that you're one step ahead of everyone else that's not even posting. If you want to level up and continue growing, these are the things you can implement to make it even better. So something that you could post or people have posted is like 5 things every first time home buyer should know.
Yeah.
Probably it's going to give you good information, right? However, there's probably, and there's millions of real estate agents that have probably made the same kind of post, right?
Oh, yeah, that's 101. That's
Yeah.
and 101 isn't bad, guys. I go
No.
back to 101 all the time. In fact, if you
100%.
notice what Blake and I do on this show is we find different ways to say the exact same thing to you because we know exactly what we want you to do for you to be the best agent. So we're doing 101 redundant stuff here too. It's always good to go back to the foundational stuff and the lifelong learning. So I just wanted to put that in there quick.
No, I love that. Before I like go on to the next thing is like I always refer or give the analogy of like when you're building a home like from scratch, the first thing you do is build the foundation.
Yep.
And if you don't have a good foundation and there's cracks and there's this and there's that, you start building, a little wind comes by, it's gonna blow all over, right? So it truly is like to what you're saying, Max, like foundation is key.
Yep.
But going back to the different types of posts and blogs and stuff.
Yes.
What you could position it as, instead of 5 things every first time home buyer should know, you could position it as if you're pre-approved but haven't made an offer yet, here's the mistake I see first time home buyers making over and over again. Now someone's like, okay, I am pre-approved and I am looking at a home. What are mistakes I could make? I feel like I want to know what those are. Once again, whether I'm a first time home buyer or not, you probably are like, I want to know what our mistakes.
Yeah, I might buy a home sometime, you know.
Yeah.
It's just it's good info to know, you know. And especially like if you lean into the emotional side of things too, like just like you said, you got your just listed post. Like if I said, hey, if you're a first-time home buyer and you feel like you can't afford a home like this one, that might not be the case. You need to know these three, you know what I mean? So you lean into some emotion, right? And they're like, oh man, okay, well, let me see what that's all about, right? So that's another big one too, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's always about like trying to put yourselves in the buyers and sellers' shoes and kind of attacking it in a way of like, how can I get this message across to these people where they feel it's connecting to them? And
Exactly.
Again, that's something that you're listening and you're like, I think this is great, but I don't have the time, or I honestly just don't want to do it, even though I know I need to. We at Agent Elite personally have services, our concierge, we have so many clients on it that are like, this is game changer for me because not only does it save me time, but you guys know what to do. And I don't have to rely on trying to figure it out. So I can go do what I'm best at, which is helping my clients. So if you're also feeling that way of like, oh my God, this seems like a lot, don't worry. We have services that could also help you on taking care of all of this for you.
100%. And that means that it frees up your time. The engine runs without you and your digital trust entity, right?
Yeah.
Getting all the people searching for either homes in your market, your area, what have you. They're all going to be coming to you, right? As best as possible. And consistency in time, right? Consistency in time. I want to get into the mechanics of what's happening here because this is what I'm hearing. And this is important. I think if you're an agent and you post something, what's happening is if it gets low engagement, it's not just that post is underperforming. It's that the algorithm sees it as low value, right? If somebody's not engaging with it, it's low value. And then it buries their stuff even faster next time. So always, always, always pay attention attention to what the buyer, seller, your potential client, what the viewer wants by looking at numbers, right?
Yeah.
That's really important too. I think most agents believe that they write a good caption or shoot a nice video, people will naturally absorb it. But that's not really what happens, is it? I mean, just because I shoot a good video, it doesn't mean that it's going to be viewed, it's going to be absorbed. So, what can they do to find ways to make their content more creative and compelling? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, we kind of use a framework that kind of goes over the different types of attention. I would say there's 4 different types of attention that you're trying to attract, right? Or that there is. So I think that the first one that we'll dive into is that passive attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting the impression. I think when real estate agents are looking at sometimes those vanity numbers of I got 6,000 views, or I got 20 likes, let's even just say, right? It's kind of more a passive attention, where what happens is someone likes your photo, they like it, and they scroll on, right? Same thing. You post a video, they like it, they scroll, they're like, this looks cool, but okay, scroll. And I think what happens is we're not remembering that, yes, impressions are great, especially with algorithm, you definitely the more views, the more engagement, the more comments, it goes on to people's For You pages or, suggested. So that's all good. However, the main objective here is to get clients, right? So remembering that, even though you got the impressions, you didn't get the relationship. And that's what you need to focus on. And I think that's what people get kind of mixed up a little bit, is if I get the, impressions, I'm gonna get the relationship. But once again, you gotta kind of use what we talked about earlier to then really get that relationship and not just have, oh, this is a cool picture, scroll.
Gotcha. That's passive attention.
Passive attention.
So lowest value scroll stop doesn't become a read. So there's no click, no save, no comment, no follow, basically. But you get a like. So it's nice to get likes. That's pretty much what this is, right?
Yeah. And then you have the reactive attention, right? So let's use interest rates as an example. So let's say you have an agent that is more on the goofy side, and they make a funny reel, and they're like, hey, check in mortgage rates before deciding whether I'm buying a house this year, with a funny audio. They have lip syncing going on in the background. And once again, the main objective is it's a funny video, right?
Right.
Get, 15,000 views and let's say 200 likes, right? Which is great. That's awesome. If I saw that on my personal page, I'd be like, heck yeah, all right, great. But you want to ask again, how many people actually know what I do? How do they know I help them? How do they know what I'm an expert in, right? It's kind of that reactive attention can create reach without actually creating meaningful intent. Now, can you throw those types of, Instagram content and Facebook, YouTube, whatever profile you're using in there as a mix? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you don't only want that type of content where you're just looking for the reaction and not actually thinking about the meaningful intent.
Yeah.
What you're
so it's better than passive, but it's still pretty thin, right? So it's personal engagement. So it's oh, okay, cool, something like that. But it's not deeply, they're not oh, this is really interesting to me, right?
Yeah. And honestly, you could level that up, right? So I would say it's engaging, but doesn't obviously automatically create business.
Right.
But what you could maybe do is say, hey, okay, I see that this is creating a lot of attraction. So I'm going to set up an automations where I then say, hey, anytime someone follows me, because maybe they got a few followers from it going and getting a lot of views and getting a lot of likes, they probably generated at least one follower. They can set up an automation to where that automation messages them, DMs them, and it's hey, thanks for giving me a follow. I appreciate it. Would love to get connected, or hey, here's my free guide, or hey, here's my website. Here's, sign yourself up for listing, whatever it is. Right? You can obviously create the messaging to whatever you want, but then that could be a way of now where you're trying to you got that engagement. Now, how do we make that engagement business? And that could be one way.
Gotcha. Absolutely. So we've gone through 2 types, right?
Yeah.
All right. What's the third? I'm riveted. Engaged attention.
Engaged attention. attention.
Where things start to matter for your business. The full read, the complete watch, the save, the click.
Yeah, you could even think of it as like, hey, I'm going to be an agent right now. I reviewed 27 offers in the last 12 months. Here are 3 things that separated the offers my sellers accepted from the ones they rejected.
Mm-hmm.
And then the buyer might say, okay, I'm going to watch this whole video because I'm actually curious. They're going to maybe save it. Maybe they send it to their friend, spouse, cousin, aunt, uncle. They read the caption. They visit the website. Now, the agent that posted that, what that does is it earns them time to then engage with that prospect ultimately, right? Because that person's engaged with their content, they're sharing it, they're sending it, they want to learn more, they want to connect. And that's, I think, the biggest thing. I think that's what we're all trying to work towards, right? So you want that engaged attention from people that are looking at your information.
For sure. It builds familiarity, authority. That's like when you start to build up trust, and then, that consistency, capturing that for getting the right audience to see it and building it as a business asset.
100%.
So, awesome. And then the last type of attention that we all want, converted attention. So that's rare and it's the most valuable. It doesn't have to be rare, but it's the rarest form. So tell us about converted attention, Blake. What's this?
Yeah, this is where you're kind of now having more of those conversations, right? You are giving engaging content. You are giving call to actions. So that way you are converting that attention that you're getting. So you could, let's say, make a post that said, lost your first offer in San Diego. Before you write number 2, send me the word offer and I'll send you exactly 5 things I would change.
Ooh.
Someone comments offer, they DM offer. Now you're able to have a conversation with that person. Yes. So that would be where you're converting the attention. You got the attention because they were on your post, they commented, and now you're having the conversation, right?
Exactly.
Another example could be like buying your first home in San Diego. I created a 1-page checklist for everything you should have done before submitting an offer, comment checklist, and I'll send it to you. Yes. Someone comments, boom. So what you do is you have content, it moves to the attention, it moves to the action, and then the last but not least, conversation. And that is literally the entire game of what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, that's great. And I think mixing those up is probably a common reason why maybe content feels like it isn't producing as much for agents, because they're not following this path, this, growth to trust building to conversion, right? Like through these stages. So I think that's awesome. And if you're posting trust building stuff and you're expecting conversion, it takes a little while. This stuff takes a little while, right? And it takes a little while to get good at it too. So if don't feel like, call us or, comment on this episode, dude, we'll DM you and I get it. There's always new formulas, always new things to say, always new ways to do stuff. So that's why we're here as a resource. But we've covered the landscape. So we've covered the brain science. We've covered the 4 types. So talking practicality here. I know agents are going to ask, this sounds great, but what do I do differently on my next post? So let's give them like the next, what's like the 4.
Like like the content that actually could convert kind of
thing. Yes. Like lay that out if we can.
Yeah. So let's use for the first example, you have kind of just like generic seller content. And this could be you could be listening and you're like, generic, my stuff's not generic. And it might not be to you, but it might be to your audience that you're trying to attract, right? Yep. And some posts, what we've seen looks like something along the lines of like, hey, thinking about selling your home. Here are 5 tips to prepare for your home for the market.
Yep.
Once again, there's nothing wrong with that. That is great. If you're posting content, once again, I'm going to give you a check plus because you're already one step ahead. However, to make that more powerful, to make that where maybe it will convert, because you're not really giving much on that, is, hey, if you've owned your San Diego home for 10 plus years and you're thinking about selling, but you're absolutely terrified of finding your next house, here's what I would do or want you to know before you put your home on the market. So what you've done by just probably saying 2 more sentences than your first one, is you've identified who. So you're talking to a long-term homeowner because they've owned their home more than 10 years. You've identified a problem, which is they want to sell, but they don't know where to go from there, and they don't really know their options or what the best option is going to be. You've hit on an emotion, which is fear and uncertainty. And then you've hit on a timeline, which is that they're considering selling.
Right.
So that's where the difference of like, you know, more generic rather than like why being more specific, so much more powerful and being able to have people relate to you.
Yeah, I think that's great. The specific audience, your clear problem, you know, the exact frustration, the fear, the question that the reader may be living with right now, not just a general real estate tip, specific pain of this specific person at that specific stage, if you can, right? So the more precise a piece of content can name a problem, the more powerful it's going to capture the attention at that specific stage. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, it doesn't even necessarily only have to be about like pain points either. It could even be just as simple as like the call to action. I've seen agents like they have a great post and then the call to actions like DM me with questions. And once again, it's not that there's anything necessarily wrong. You're just not going to get the results that you're probably hoping for. Like when you say DM me a question, now you're leaving it up to that consumer to figure out what to even ask or how to even ask it. And more likely than not, people are going to be like, I don't even know what I'm asking. All right, next. I don't know. Right? Like you have to have a specific call to action. It removes the like uncertainty of like what to do. So you can say, instead of saying at the end, like DM me a question, let me know if you have any questions. Like if that's what you're saying at the end, let me know if you have any questions. That's not going to be as strong. If you're like, hey, if you've been pre-approved, but you're not sure whether you should buy now or wait until 2027, DM me the word wait and I'll send you 3 numbers I would look at before making that decision.
Yeah.
Once again, what you're doing is you're identifying a specific problem, a specific person, a specific action, a specific value exchange. And you're just going to have so much better results. Now, if you are listening to this and you implement that, heck yeah, I'm proud of you for putting in the work and making the effort. If you start doing it and you post, let's even say a month's worth of content and you don't get that many responses to your call to action, it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means you need to build, compounding the efforts, because something that happens 3 months ago, could you see the results in, 6 months. So I don't want you to get discouraged either of like, hey, I did what they said and I'm not seeing the results. It's compounding effect, right?
Yep.
So don't give up. Keep on doing everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, completely agree. It's a grind, it's a hustle, but that's why we're here to help. And guys, attention is the most finite contested resource in your marketing environment right now, right? Like, you have 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, the brain is deciding whether you're worth more time or not, right? So the agents who are going to win are going to be doing what we're outlining in these steps. And we've gone through the science, we've gone through, what we're seeing and why this works. So my challenge for you this week is, before you publish anything, run it through the 3-second test, right? Cover everything except the first frame or the first line of the caption. And honestly, does it make someone feel curious, recognized, surprised in the first 3 seconds, right? Because that's all you have. And if the answer is no, change the opening, keep the content, change the entry point, continue to follow the guidance, and you will get better and better and better. And if you want the team at Agent Elite here to walk you through how to build the system that captures the right type of attention to the right audience at the right time, at the right stage, you can pretty much comment visible on any Agent Elite social post, or you can download the Visible Agent Guide at agentelite.com/visible. You get the full framework. Yeah.
I'm with it.
Right on. Well, that's all I got this week, guys. This has been a great episode. Get out there, win the first 3 seconds, and build for converted attention. We will see you next week.